Today I'm going to show you how to make an assignment within Canvas. So here we are in the course. Remember, global navigation, course navigation. So here we are in the course menu, and to create an assignment, click on Assignments. Now, up here at the top, you've got assignment categories, and you could make new categories if you want to. You could make a new group if you choose to, but let's just make an assignment. So plus assignment. Now this should be familiar to you. Up at the top we've got the name, and then we've got that same rich text box that we had before. But then we have some more options below. So Canvas tries to be consistent between pages so that if you know how to make a page, you can also know how to make an assignment. So the assignment name first. Delete Me is a great assignment name for an experiment. And then whatever instructions or anything for the assignment you want to put here. You can copy and paste. You can embed a file if you want to. You could do all sorts of things. So I'll just type up some quick instructions. So there's my instructions. Those aren't good instructions. I'm not going to pretend that they are. You can do anything that you need with the linker. Anything you could do on pages, you could do right here. So after you've created the assignment, sometimes it's nice to just save, just to make sure you don't lose anything. But now we need to make the assignment settings. First, you select how many points it's worth. I'm going to make this one worth 10 points. If you have more than one assignment group, remember I showed that to you on the other page, you can choose which group it goes in there. Now this, you usually probably want to just leave it points, but there's occasions where you might do it differently. If you want to grade it by percentage, oh well that's a B, so it's 85%. You could do it that way. If you want to just give 100% to everyone who does it, that's this complete or incomplete. You can mark it complete, and that's all you have to do. Points is normal points like you'd think. Letter grade, if you want to say this is an A, this is a B, you could do it that way, or you could type in straight their GPA scale. Or of course you could say this is not a graded assignment. And there's occasions where you might want to say, well, I'd like you to do this, but this part of it isn't graded, but it'll be nicer if you do it for later, but usually you'll probably want points. And then of course there's the, I don't want to count this towards the final grade, and you know why that would be useful for something like a pretest. Now you could choose how they submit it. If you want them to give it to you on paper but you want to grade it in Canvas, you could do that there. If you don't want them to submit anything, you're just saying here are the instructions, no submission is going to be made in Canvas, you could choose no submission. You can also choose online, and that gives you a few choices. Text entry is where they type it right in Canvas. Only choose that one if you want it to be really short, because there's no save. It doesn't automatically save when the kids start typing. It just, they put it in. So only do that if it's a short answer. A lot of your assignments you've shared in this course are website URLs. You just copy and paste the URL from the top into Canvas. A media recording, if you want them to record themselves either with audio or video, that's there, and it actually just opens up this same button that you have, where is it? This one, for the kids to upload their media. Or you can have them do a file upload. If you want, you can choose what kind they're going to do. I liked to restrict it on, I would have my students do a thing called an infographic, where they had to give me a graphic when they explain a concept. I would make them do that one as a JPEG. Otherwise, I'd leave it alone. Canvas can read a lot of different file types, most of the normal types that your students will use, Canvas can read. You can make it a group assignment or require peer reviews. We'll talk more about that later. And you probably don't need a moderator. That's kind of a college thing that's left. Now this down here at the bottom is really handy. You could choose who it's assigned to. I want to assign this one to everyone. I want it to be due, let's say tomorrow. Now this due, I suggest that you change this. If you just want them to turn it in anytime that day, I'd change it to 9. Because I had kids who figured if it was due at 11:59, which is the default, they need to hand it in at 11:58. And the parents would come to me and say, how come they're handing this in so late? And I'd say, well, I didn't think that kids would actually do that. I just left it, and it wasn't a very strong defense. And you'll notice if I type stuff, it will appear down here with the way that it's reading it. Maybe I didn't mean Wednesday, March 21st. Maybe I didn't really mean 9 p.m. Then this available from and until. It won't open for the students to access it until this from date. And this is what professors sometimes call the drop dead date, where they can't hand it in after. So this one, maybe you don't want them to see it before class, so you could set it up that way. Be very careful with this until. A lot of teachers will just say, well, I don't want them to hand it in after Friday. And that's nice, but it's not very defensible when a parent comes and says, well, how come they can't hand in the assignment late? And you say, well, I just set it that way in Canvas on a whim. That's not going to be a conversation you're going to want to be having. But this is really handy for, say, the end of the trimester. So in this case, I'm going to say this is the last day of the trimester. I don't want to get too many assignments so that I can eventually go home that day. So I'm going to say everything is due at this point. This only does one assignment. And that day I'll leave until 11:59. And that way I don't get people handing stuff in after I've graded it. Now, if I want to add here, I could assign it to just one section or just one student. I'm a sample student in my own class. Say that this is a student with an IEP. I want them to have an extra week on this assignment, so there they have an extra week. Or let's say that everyone else has to have it in by the 31st, but I know this student had surgery, so I'm going to allow them to do it on the 1st. Now the catch to that is that our SIS pulls all the kids out that day between classes. So that day between classes is the last day you'll have access to your Canvas. So you can't say, oh, well, I want you to have access 3 weeks later. It just, with the SIS system, it doesn't work. You'll have to come up with a different alternate. Maybe make another class that they can access it in. And copy the things over to it. But once I've made it, I again can choose. If I don't want them to see it yet, I can just save it. Or I can save and publish right now. I'm just going to save it. And then I'm going to go back to my assignments menu. I could do that here or here. Now there's my assignment. I've got multiple dates because one student has a different date than the rest. And this is another place I can publish it or unpublish it. Once again, I can duplicate it, and that's really, really handy. Or I could share it with someone else. Now if I need to make changes, I can come in here and make the changes I need. I can also publish here. And any change I make is active for the kids instantly. The only difference is that they might have to refresh the page. So if I forgot to publish it, I'm going to have to come later and say, hey, I need this published. And then my kids still won't be able to see it unless they refresh the page. And that's how you make an assignment.